Hi everyone, this is Mix from Sneaks and Ball PH, and today we have the full performance review on the Curry Flow 9 Taking Cookies. Before we get started, if you do like the video, please make sure to leave a thumbs up down below. And if you have any comments, questions, or any suggestions for future videos, please feel free to leave them in the comment section down below as well. And I'll also be leaving a link to the SNBPH Sneaker Hunters Facebook group in the description box. So I do hope you can join us over there because that is a place where we talk about sneakers and basketball quite a bit. And it's also where we have the SNBPH Steel Cabinet, where I, as well as a lot of our other members, take some shoes that we no longer use and put them up for bidding at way below market value. Then if you haven't already yet, please do make sure to sub to the channel because it really does help us out quite a lot. Then with that being said, we finally have the full performance review on the Curry 9, and it was definitely such a fun shoe to test. After testing it out for a couple of weeks, I can definitely say that the upper is better than the one on the Curry 8, which definitely made the Curry 9 my go-to basketball shoe and also my backup shoe when I'm testing other shoes. I think it's definitely obvious by now that I'm such a huge fan of the Curry 9, but to break it down and explain it in detail and for you to see if the Curry 9 is the best basketball shoe for you, let's dive into the full performance review, starting off with the traction. For the traction, the Curry 9 is still pretty much the same as the Curry 8 because you still have that same pretty radial pattern with those thick knobs, and the outsole is still made of that same flow foam that comprises the midsole. Even still to this day, after testing out the Curry 9s as well as the Curry 8s, I still find it hard to believe how this flow cushion that also serves as the outsole works well in gripping the court. I mean, it not only grips the court pretty well, but it actually has one of the hardest biting tractions ever. The bite on the traction is actually so strong that you definitely need to have your footwork on point. Because I did find this out the hard way, I was kind of just like going through the motions and kind of dragging my feet. And if you do that with this shoe, especially on a clean hardwood court, you're gonna have a good chance of falling flat on your face. There is one caveat to the shoe though, and it's a pretty strange one, but the Curry 9 just doesn't grip well on dusty painted courts. So what I mean by that is that even if you have a dusty like hardwood floor or a dusty concrete court that's pretty rough, these are gonna stick to the court really well. But if you are playing on a dusty court that has a paint finish, especially those smooth concrete courts with paint, you actually are gonna slide around quite a bit, and I don't really know how to explain that. It is quite unfortunate that that is the case, but if you play on hardwood courts or rough concrete courts, then you're pretty much good to go. And if you're gonna play with these on heavily painted courts, I just recommend that you keep the outsole clean. Then for the durability of the outsole, I do think it fared pretty well, especially given the fact that it is just a foam that you used as an outsole. I do have a little bit of wear and tear here on the forefoot of my pair, but the good thing about this flow midsole and outsole is that it still remains grippy even after you wear down the pattern because the grip is actually coming from the compound itself. That does mean that even if you wear these outdoors and kinda grind through those knobs, it's still gonna grip pretty well and essentially have a pretty long lifespan. So overall for the traction, given that hellacious bite on the court and its surprising durability, with the only real caveat being that it doesn't grip well on dusty painted courts, I'm gonna have to give the traction on the Curry 9 an A. Then moving on to the cushion, just like the outsole, it makes use of that flow technology, and in my opinion, that flow cushion is perfect for guards. It's definitely not a cushion that's gonna blow you away in terms of like the plushness or the bounciness, but it just feels so smooth and so natural when you run and jump in these. Plus, it also does provide a lot of impact protection. You do feel pretty low to the ground, responsive and quick on your feet with the cushion on this shoe, which is why if you are a shifty guard or a shifty wing, or also a shooter who runs around a lot of screens, this is definitely a perfect cushion setup for you. This cushion isn't for everyone though. I mean, you might want a little bit more bounciness and a bit more plushness, especially if you are more of a power player or a post-up player. You still could use a shoe like this though if you are a power player, because even though it doesn't have a lot of bounce or a lot of plushness, it has a lot of impact protection. So overall for the cushion, given that I feel like it's such a perfect guard setup, super low to the ground, responsive, stable with lots and lots of impact protection, I'm gonna have to give the cushion on the Curry 9 an A. Then moving on to the materials, like I said, this is the biggest change from the 8 to the 9, because the Curry 8 did make use of a one booty upper with stretchy net all throughout, and though the upper on those was really comfy on foot, it was really just too stretchy to really support my foot and keep it contained on really fast side-to-side movements as well as front-to-back movements. For the Curry 9, here at the forefoot and the midfoot, you do have a multi-layered textile, with the innermost layer being pretty soft, pretty thin, and pretty light, but it is overlain with a boatload of stitching, as well as nylon strips that go in a crisscross pattern. It's definitely more supportive and better for containment, and though it isn't as soft as a stretchy knit, it still is plenty soft enough. It also still is pretty thin and pretty lightweight, and given that there is a lot of layers and a lot of stitching, it also feels a lot more durable. Then for the other materials, you do have a foam back mesh tongue with a fuzzy bit here at the pull tab, and then here at the heel of the shoe as well as the eye stay area, you have the synthetic nubuck. So overall for the materials, there really isn't much I can complain about with this shoe. The materials just work really well on court, they're lightweight, they're comfy, they're durable, and the only real nitpick you can have with the materials is that they aren't the most premium, but the shoe does still have some premium looking touches, like the back half with that nubuck, as well as the nice and fuzzy tongue pull tab. So overall for the materials, I'm gonna have to give the Curry 9 an A. Then moving on to the support, the first time you do pick the shoe up, you might be tricked into thinking that it isn't a supportive shoe, just because it does feel so lightweight and minimal. However, the Curry 9 is surprisingly supportive, and definitely has all of the basic support features you need. Starting off with the base of the shoe, that outsole is just super wide. I mean, it's wide here at the heel and the forefoot, and it also just feels super stable, especially in conjunction with the cushion, which does have a lot of impact protection, but it's not mushy at all, which does make sure that whenever you land, you're not going to be in any danger of tipping over. Then for your torsional support, you do have this big plastic shank here at the midfoot, and it actually does feel like it goes all the way up to like midway through the forefoot, which does make the shoe surprisingly supportive and rigid here at the midfoot. Then moving on to the upper, like I said, they did switch out the materials from the 8 to the 9, and with the upper on the Curry 9, it just really doesn't stretch, which is definitely good for containing your foot, especially on those side-to-side movements. To aid in that containment as well, that flow midsole does come up both on the lateral and medial side, and you also have a pretty rigid internal heel counter. Then like I said a while ago, the flow cushion just makes it feel so smooth, and in the end, every time I played in these, it just felt like my foot and the shoe were one. So just having a shoe that I think feels like an extension of your body definitely adds to the overall support as well, and when you add that to all of the support features on the Curry 9, I'm gonna have to give it an A+. Then moving on to fit and lockdown, I did go through the size with the Curry 9, and it fits me perfectly well. It definitely fits my foot just right, it's not too snug, and it doesn't have a lot of dead space, and overall it's just a comfortable fit all the way around. Like I said, I did go through the size in these, and that's definitely what I would recommend if you have a normal width foot or a narrow foot, but if you have a wide foot, I would consider going up half a size, just because that upper is nowhere near as stretchy as last year's shoe. Then for the lockdown, it overall is just really good. I mean, there's really nothing too out of the ordinary. You do have a pretty standard lacing system, but with some nylon cables on the 3rd and 4th eyelet, and you also have a pretty padded tongue that will allow you to really tighten your laces if you need to. So overall for fit and lockdown, given that the shoe fits pretty perfect through the size, and given that once your foot is in the shoe, it's not gonna go anywhere, I'm gonna have to give the fit and lockdown on the Curry 9 an A+. Then moving on to the overall aesthetics, these have really been growing on me the more that I've used them on court, because it just has that pretty sleek and lightweight look to it, and I also really enjoyed this particular colorway. This Taking Cookies colorway is obviously inspired by the Cookie Monster, which is why you have this fuzzy thing here at the tongue, as well as this cute Cookie Monster tab here at the heel. That Cookie Monster blue also I think works well with the shoe with the black and the white, and you also have some gold and black splatter here at the midfoot, which you know I definitely love. That fuzzy pull tab here at the tongue is definitely a feature that I like and I find pretty interesting and unique. However, I did run into some people that weren't exactly the biggest fan of this, so if you're someone who doesn't want this on their shoe, you're better off going for a colorway that's not a part of the Sesame Street collab. So for the overall aesthetics, given that it is really nice looking on court, you have a lot of nice colorways, and it looks pretty sleek and pretty lightweight, I'm gonna have to give the aesthetics on the Curry 9 an A. Then moving on to the price, the Curry 9 does retail for 8,595 pesos here in the Philippines, or $160 US. Even though that $160 price point is definitely far from like the most expensive, it also isn't on that budget side like that 100 to 120 range. But you know, if you really think about it, it is quite understandable, because for one, Curry is one of the best players we've had over the past decade, and he also is pretty much the flagship athlete who has his own brand within Under Armour. The Curry is, though, I think, just off the top of my head, like the most expensive guard signature shoe. But for what you get with that awesome bite on the traction, that smooth and natural cushion with a lot of impact protection, that thin, lightweight, and comfortable upper, the good fit and lockdown and support you get with the shoe, and the nice aesthetics and colorways of the shoe, I think you do get a lot for your hard-earned money. I did get my pair over at the Under Armour Philippines website, and I do think these are a lot more popular than I previously thought because these did kinda sell out pretty fast, and with the newest white and gold colorway that they dropped, the other sizes are also like sold out right now. So definitely, whether you're here on the Philippines or if you're in the US, just monitor the Under Armour website to see if your size is still available or if there are new colorways that have dropped. So there you have it, guys. That was my full performance review on the Curry Flow 9 Taking Cookies. Once again, if you do like the video, please make sure to leave a thumbs up down below. Then if you haven't already yet, please do make sure to subscribe to the channel and click that bell icon for notifications. And as always, whether you're looking for that retail win or if you just won the All-Star Game MVP, just keep on hunting.